Hi everyone, today we are happy to have Nena Swain with us as a HR leader who has built strong cultures and future ready capabilities across hospitality, aviation, corporate HR, and consulting. She brings deep experience in culture transformation, leadership hiring, L&D, behavioral capability building, organizational design, and employee experience. Her work has consistently helped organizations strengthen how teams collaborate, grow, and adapt. What truly stands out is the balance she creates between culture and capability and helping companies build teams that are not just skilled but aligned and driven by the right behavior. Today, we will talk to her about this balance, her journey, and the initiatives she led, and the insights she believes leaders and HR professionals should carry forward. Thank you, Nena. Welcome to the show.
To begin with, what inspired you to choose HR and what has kept you connected to this field over the years?
Thank you so much, Tapti, for giving me this opportunity to share my experience with everybody. I think one of the primary reasons why I have joined HR was because I have always been curious about what makes people show up at their best, and what keeps me going today also is the impact. So the overall impact when culture shifts, when behaviors shape and businesses have outcomes.
Mhm,
It's very, very interesting to see tangible value to people work.
mhm.
And hence, it keeps me very, very much anchored uh, to this function and the kind of contribution it has to the overall business. So, people, definitely, it's people and will always be people.
So I see in your profile, Nena, and we were talking just now, that you have worked across hospitality, aviation, corporate HR, and consulting. What are the top two experiences that shaped your thinking as a HR leader?
See, largely in the hospitality, retail, even in corporate. So I'll break this down into two parts. One would be that I would want to talk about the retail part of the work that I have done,
Mhm,
working very, very closely with the frontline employees. When I work with them, when I'm around them, it has actually taught me that culture lives in everyday behaviors and not just frameworks that we build.
mhm.
And when I talk about the second part of it, which is corporate HR has taught me the power of structure. So, systems, clarity, and capability building can actually transform performances.
That's true. So you enjoyed working with the frontline?
Absolutely, I do it still. I think my way of sometimes bringing clarity to the work that I have to do, I run to the cafes and to the stores or the restaurants in various organizations that I have worked.
Mhm.
I think just looking at them and how they live on a daily basis, by reflecting whatever we are trying to build, gives me a lot more clarity of how and what needs. So what I have to build and how I need to get that executed is something I get clarity when I am with them.
Wonderful. So every leader has a turning point, Naina. So what was the moment in your career that changed the way you look at the people and culture?
So I would want to reflect back to my journey at Nando's India.
Mm-hmm.
When I had joined the organization, one of the people matrix that was given to us was the annual employee survey.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of gives you a sense to the organization culture. So at that point in time, the survey was averaging out to a 60%.
Mm-hmm.
And in a year's time, we were able to, as a whole team at the central support, was able to deliver a score of 89%.
Wow.
That was a huge shift. It just made me believe in, in everything that we were trying to do. So the three things that we were trying to do at that point in time was that it was extremely important that how leaders role model the behaviors that we expect, you know through which we can drive a lot of cultural transformation.
Mhm.
It directly comes from the leaders, right? And the behaviors that you show consistently every day. The second part is relentlessly communicating with them. So a lot of communication back and forth, trying to be there for them, to be seen, to be heard. These were very, very important things that we kind of routed through relentless communication platforms that we established. And then we brought in the whole fairness around performances, reviews, and growth. So I think the three things worked very well, and we were able to, turn around that score, which meant that, the employees were not only satisfied, they were delighted, and we were able to see a lot of business impact on the business matrix as well.
So that happiness of success is very different, right? Okay, so let's
People
talk.
being happy is the most important thing for the business.
That's true, and I think for the HRs also.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about culture and capability more. Finding the sweet spot, according to you, what creates the sweet spot between culture and capability in a team?
I think, it is. I always reflect, and I always look at me at an individual level, that how was I always able to perform. Very, very simplistically, clear expectation.
Mhm.
When you get very, very clear direction of what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do, what happens many a times is that we are able to communicate very clearly, the expectation is XYZ. The the what of it is also told, but many a times we skip the how of it, and a lot of people struggle there, and a lot of failures happen over there. The
Mhm.
moment we are clearly defining the expectation, we are talking about the what of it and how of it. I think we will be able to drive what we are intending to. Side by side, it is also important that, like I always say, the leadership has to role model what
Mhm.
you expect the teams to deliver. Those behaviors have to be role modeled, and we have to build a system that rewards both what people are doing and how they are doing. So the reward mechanism also has to come in, so it's like a holistic system in place.
So reward system, do you think that is important in between?
Yes, absolutely. The right
Let's
behaviors have to be rewarded.
and it
The right
works.
actions have to be
It
rewarded. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
okay. So companies often hire for skill but struggle with behavioral assimilation. What early signs tell you that a candidate will blend well with the culture?
It's very easy to identify the body language of people who are, settling in well. You will see a lot of curiosity. There'll be a lot of questions that will come in.
Mhm.
um, you will see a lot of agility, you will see a lot of adaptability, and these are a few signs that someone is settling in well. And it
Mhm.
is also about, like I said, relentless communication with your teams. It is always important to have those little sense checks to
Mhm.
understand if there is something that is bothering, and if we can address it at a very earlier stage.
But we see that, like, these are the changes sometimes are missed by managers or, like, the frontline team, maybe, like, the direct hierarchy. So how do you play the role in between?
See, it is extremely important to be that bridge, because HR is not just, for HR, it is not just a function,
Mhm.
right? It is about being that bridge where you are able to understand what is happening at the core level and communicating it to the right people in the leadership, ensuring the right senses are, being apprised upon.
Mm-hmm.
And it is not just taking the problem statement to the leadership, it is also resolving by letting them know here are the two or three things we must do. So it just becomes easier for them to kind of decide and let us know how do we address.
Okay.
So the flow of communication has to be, the channel has to be clear
Okay.
with clear actionables as well.
But these are not defined. Like, this is mostly situation based, right?
Yeah, yeah. This is all situation based. There could be something very new that comes up which we feel that shouldn't have been a part of the culture, but it suddenly comes up, it crops up.
Mm-hmm.
How do you address it immediately?
That
Is
must.
it something that is going to turn around the business, or is it a weed that we have to remove? We
That's
have to, take that decision quickly.
okay. So when culture and capability don't match in the organization, what problems show up first in the team?
See, the first and foremost thing of misalignment would be when there is a whole mismatch. There will be a lot of inconsistency in service,
Okay.
and then you would see, then it's like a chain. There's going to be inconsistency. There's going to be, a lot of conflict that will come in. You will see accountability kind of starts getting weakened. At the same time, you will see decision making is becoming very, very slow. So
Mhm.
misalignment will always show up in behaviors first, then in the business matrix.
Okay. And what practical steps can organization take to build capability without losing the cultural DNA of the company?
See, the cultural DNA of any organization is going to be its values, the brand values. So it's important that we anchor every capability program to the values, enable behaviors alongside the skills that we are building, and
Mm-hmm.
ensure that our leaders are role modeling them consistently. Because culture is protected when capability is built through it and
Mm-hmm.
not outside it.
That's true. So, how do you feel that how one can be aligned with the values? We talk about the values as an organization, we hire people on the basis of the value, but a lot of time we feel that it is missing.
Mm-hmm. So, see, the most challenging part of the values is a lot of people understand what values are all about.
Mm-hmm.
Living those values is through action. So, basically, your value system has to be broken down on the various actions that define that particular value,
Mm-hmm.
and then it is about communicating it to people that when these are the actions that are lived on a daily basis, here is the impact it has on people,
Mm-hmm.
on customers,
Mm-hmm.
or anybody who is associated with the brand. So I think breaking that down, breaking the culture, breaking the values to actions is the most critical part.
That's true. So yeah, I mean, like, I asked you this question because I've seen over the years, like, value becomes just the, the words, like, which has been defined by the organization, and a lot of people doesn't even care later, like, after joining the organization. It's very difficult for HR people to go on and actually align them with the organizational things, because at the end of the day, that
Yeah.
matters.
Yes.
Yeah. So, in your experience, Nana, what's harder to build, skills or behaviors, and why?
Definitely behaviors. Um, See, skills can be taught, but for behaviors, it requires a lot of belief. It requires a lot of self awareness
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of feedback. So we can see behaviors change only when people feel psychologically safe and see leaders embody what is expected out of them.
Mm-hmm. So you feel that they change, like, behaviorally, someone can be changed.
Yes.
Okay. And you have
We
seen
can
many.
shape behaviors because see, there is a lot of effort that goes. Skills are taught. You
Mm-hmm.
can tell somebody this is an SOP, they will read it once, twice, and practice it, and automatically it'll become a part, it'll become a habit, and they will keep doing it. For behavior transformation, like I said before also, that it is important not to just leave it to the what of it. It is important to tell them the how of it, and show them that how, when you follow or do these things, it has an impact on the business. And when they see themselves contributing to business, they automatically start changing, and that is how behavior starts shaping up.
So more or less, it's on the people. Like if they start feeling it that they need to change, they actually see the impact and then they change, right?
Yeah, it's a whole enablement process, Tripti. You have to be the enabler. You have to be someone who brings clarity. You have to be someone who is relentless about it. You have to knock that change every day. Say it maybe 100 times. And then you see how, when people see how they are contributing, no, a lot of times people don't see how they are contributing to the overall business. The moment you bring that clarity to them, you will see the behavior shaping up.
Yeah, and then I can see that, like, how empathetically you actually communicate with the team because it's reflecting in your conversation. So my
Thank you.
next, yeah. So my next question is that can you share an example from your work where aligning culture with capability changed the team outcome? I mean, I think you've answered it a little bit in the
Mhm.
previous conversation, but yeah, I mean, anything else if you want to mention.
I think largely I have kind of answered that question, but one of the things that I would like to talk about is, again, I will reflect to the organization Nando's, because I've kind of worked there for about more than 5.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
We initiated the whole, the whole people team over there.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to bring in role-based behavioral trainings. So
Okay.
when we introduced those role-based behavioral trainings, we saw the whole impact. There was this whole impact that it created. So at a business level, we were able to contribute to a net promoter score of 90%,
Mm-hmm.
because at every role people knew the kind of behaviors they have to embody, which has an impact. So if there is a store manager or a restaurant manager, there are behavioral competencies, or you can say that there are certain behaviors he or she has to drive on a daily basis, which has an impact on the team,
Mm-hmm.
which has an impact on the customers. In a similar manner, there is as little as a team member.
That's good.
Their trainings were also done in a certain way that they were able to understand that how
Mm-hmm.
they are contributing to the whole positive feedback that a customer gives, which means focusing more on SOPs, ensuring the right product is going to the customer, and there is consistency about the flavor and the taste of the food that goes every time to the customer. So when they saw themselves working towards it and they saw how they are contributing, the, there was consistency that was built, and we were relentless about it. And
That's
that's
great.
how at a brand level, the whole support, it was everyone together. It was not just the people team, it was the operators also. Everyone came together to ensure that we are able to drive all of it. And that's what I mean when I say leadership behaviors. When
Mm-hmm.
all the leaders go and speak the same language on a daily basis, you know you will see how the culture shapes up and how the behaviors shape up.
Wow. And that's actually a team effort. I mean, I can see that, like,
It is. It's
it's so,
absolutely a team effort.
yeah, I mean, it's so good to hear about the numbers. We actually today only, I mean, since yesterday, actually, we have been writing an article on data. And that's what we were talking about, that how actually data has become so important in the life of HR also. I mean, everything is measured by it, everything is measured by the numbers. And I think,
Absolutely.
yeah, this is a true example of it.
Mm.
So, yeah, I mean, as you mentioned about leadership, let me come to a point of leadership. You have worked deeply in L&D and capability
Mhm.
building. What are the two to three capabilities every organization should focus in 2026?
I think, like I said, clarity around the role is very very important. So role
Mhm.
clarity and execution discipline is very very critical. Apart from that, it is important that we have coaching based leadership
Mhm.
and data driven decision making. These are three very important things. I think with data around, you're able to, one is, see, data based decision making is one part of it, but most importantly it is important that your teams are literate on the data. So
That's
which means that, it is important that the right kind of data reaches them also, and we educate them on why this data is important and how it is going to help you fix the challenges. So the
that's
whole
true.
enablement also has to happen, where you are educating them through data, and then you are enabling them to take the right decisions through the data that is available.
That's true. Correctly actually mentioned, because I see a lot of companies in India, they're taking initiatives toward collecting the data, but how to implement it, how to use it and fix it, that is still missing.
Hmm.
A lot of places, like, they're still coping up with that, or maybe their implementation is working around. So yes, when designing a learning program, how do you ensure that they are not just training sessions, but actually change behavior on the ground?
See, it's very important to understand what is the shift that the business is looking for.
Mm-hmm.
What is the larger vision and the mission of the organization, and which direction we want to go. So frameworks are always built backwards. You need to kind of understand what has to be delivered, and you start designing them backwards. You kind of understand, first define the behavioral shift that is expected. You start embedding the whole practices and the rituals around it. S- uh, so in between, the most important part is the enablement process.
Mm-hmm.
When you enable people, when there is a huge amount of feedback that goes in post enablement, you bring in the whole accountability piece around it. So automatically you will see that there is this whole change that is coming across. Very importantly, it should be that learning should not just be restricted to the L&D function or the training function. It has to be reinforced by all the leaders.
Okay.
Lastly, what happens is that we say that, the trainings are not happening properly. So the question comes onto the training function. But what typically has to happen is that it is not supposed to be left at the training function. It has to be reinforced by every leader out there.
So I mean, like, do you feel that, like, this collaboration is easy with every leader? I had actually two questions in my mind, so I just asked one.
um Collaboration with leaders is not a challenge. Collaboration might be a challenge with someone who is a who is a boss, maybe, or a manager. Leaders are a different league altogether.
Okay, that's good, and that's actually nice to hear that, like, now leaders are participating in the whole training process. That's very very important for everyone to skill themselves. So, what is the one capability building initiative you're proud of, and what impact did it create?
Uh, one of the capability programs that I'm really proud of is the internal development program.
Okay.
In my current organization, we launched the internal development program very early. We are currently 9 stores, with the 10th store coming up in the next 2 or 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we were just 5 stores when we launched the internal development program. Now, why I am saying that I'm proud of it is that just 10 months into the business, I think, yeah, 10, 11 months into the business, we have been able to grow 4 people internally
Wow.
at various levels. One is at a cafe manager level,
Mhm.
two at a assistant manager level. And we have also the beauty about the internal development program is that we are giving opportunity to our housekeeping team members
Mhm.
to have the accessibility to tools that can help them develop and grow as well. So while I speak, we have the second housekeeper getting trained and developed at a crew level.
Oh, nice. That's nice.
So I think it is also about inclusion. It is no matter how small we are right now. But I think these are the smaller things or the smaller steps we take in building a brand.
That's nice. So, I mean, like, you must be feeling a lot of proud, and, everybody must be happy around it, right?
Yes, they are. I think see for a grassroots level where somebody who doesn't have access to education at many a places are denied work.
Mm-hmm.
So at we want to build a brand where we say that you know what, you come in, you learn what it takes to run the business at various levels, and you will have an everyone will have an opportunity to grow.
So, Nina, my next question is, if a company wants to build a learning culture, where should they start from?
They should start from the leadership.
Okay. Only leadership? Anything else?
It's it
Like that should.
starts from the leadership. I think culture flows from from the
The top.
top. Yeah. So, like I said, the culture will always be built and protected when the threads are pulled out from the values, and when every leader embodies all aspects of the culture that we have defined, is expected by the team to follow or embody in them. So it starts from us first, the way we carry ourselves, the way we embody the values, the way we action it out in the kind of work we do and how we do it. Um, Culture is all about it. It is not something that is just curated quickly and given to somebody that now everyone follow this. It's not like a protocol. It is lived on a daily basis. There are tougher situations that happen where the leadership is put to test, and you actually get to know whether a culture is being lived up to or not.
That's great. Because actually, there's a lot of debate happening. The culture should start from top or it should start from the bottom. So, yeah, I mean, like, I think you've answered it well. So, Nana, I see that you have had a lot of experience in leadership, culture. I see, that you've covered one aspect of hiring. So, if we talk about hiring, you have handled leadership hiring as well. What matters more at senior levels? That is capability, behavior, or mindset. What do you think?
At senior levels, it will always be mindset.
Okay.
And why
Anything
I
you
say
have,
it is,
sorry to interrupt you in between, anything you have encountered?
uh, see, the experiences happen, and hence it is based on experiences that I say that it is mindset very, very strongly, because, like I said, skills can be developed, capability can be built, but mindset is something that tells you whether someone will be able to adapt, collaborate, and scale with the organization or not.
Okay. So, you feel mindset only.
Mindset.
Okay. So, what's the one question you always ask to understand whether someone will fit the culture or not?
I think one of the I have I kind of ask a lot of questions, but one of my favorite questions would be that, tell me about a time you disagreed with the decision
Mhm.
but supported it anyways, and why.
So you get good
So
answers.
this, I do get responses, but it helps me to decide whether to go ahead with the candidate or not.
Okay.
Because this question is a it will the kind of response you get to the question will help you understand. It reveals humility, it reveals alignment, it also reflects a lot of maturity,
Mhm.
which are the core indicators of either a culture fit or a culture add.
That's nice. That's very tricky questions though.
Very tricky question.
Okay.
There's a lot of nudging that I do to kind of get the, if I get to know that okay, the person on the right track, I will keep urging the person that you're almost there. I just want to hear something, which will.
So come to the point, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, we are going towards the end. Just wanted to ask a couple of
Mhm.
advice. What advice would you give HR professional who want to grow into culture and capability roles?
Spend a lot of time at the ground level.
Hmm.
Know your people, know the core, know your business deeply,
Hmm.
you know, and study behaviors. Uh, a lot of time people spend is on the processes, but it is important to study behaviors as well.
Hmm.
And culture capability role requires intuition that is backed up with data and real exposure. So hence, be closer to your core and people.
That's nice. And the last question is that if you had to give one message to organizations as 2025 is going, 2026 is coming, so on the people and culture, what would it be?
My message would be build cultures that are high on accountability and humanity.
Hmm.
Because companies that balance performance and care will always attract good talent, retain their teams, and grow sustainably.
So it's a small message, but pretty powerful, right? Okay, great. So thank you so much, Nena, for coming and talking to us. I asked you a lot of questions, and you have gracefully replied them all. I hope all your answers will help the new generation to cope up in their organizations. Look for the behaviors, and personally, I would love to tell you that I am a big fan of Nando's.
I've spent a lot of time over there, so I think a lot of me that I have been able to develop into who I am
Mhm.
uh, goes back to Nando's, definitely. Yeah.
Good to hear. Good to hear. So thank you so much, Nana. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience and answering us well.
Thank you so much, Tripti. I think you're doing a wonderful work. I think giving us all an opportunity to share our experiences. I think this is also going to the conversations that the newbies are going to, the content that goes to the newbies and what they hear.
Mhm.
All of this is going to help them, maybe imbibe, learn, or execute, or maybe bring in clarity. So I think it's definitely a wonderful thing that you are doing, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Naina. That is the main purpose of the People's Board, actually. We used to have at our time, only the forums. And here, now we have, we're giving the platform to the people who can actually come, communicate, share their experiences, and, give the guidance to other people and the new generation, the Gen Zs we talk about.
Absolutely. For me, they are one of the best. They bring in the most clarity and they bring in the most boundaries, which is
Yeah, I
very
mean,
good.
there are a lot of conversation happening around it. They're good, they're bad. I feel that it's a good new change.
It's a very very fresh perspective to the times we are in. We all definitely need clarity in terms of what we want to do
Mhm.
and what are the boundaries we need to have. I think sometimes we lack our boundaries also, and hence we get so overwhelmed with whatever is happening.
very, very true. So thank you so much, Naina. Thank you for coming in. And
Thank you.
thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. See you.